Welcome back to American Warrior Radio right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, sponsored by AVET Project. Glenn, we got some really good stuff to get in here, but I want to get a quick shout out. If you are interested, now I just mentioned, if you want to donate, it's easy to do. Go to avetproject.org and click on the donate button. You can use PayPal, credit card, whatever. But really, folks, we need your assistance. We can't do it without it. We're an all-volunteer organization, and we need everyone to help us out here. So click on the donate button. Also, if you're willing, you can click on the volunteer tab. Fill out some simple information because we've always got a lot of events going on. We are an all-volunteer organization, so we need volunteers. Click on that volunteer tab, put in your information. Our privacy policy is very strictly adhered to. It's at the bottom of every page. Click on it. You can read all about it. Your information will never be provided to anyone other than AVET Project. So, we got the Navy's picnic coming up. I told you about the 920th. That was a huge success. Everybody had a blast. It was just so much fun. Let me talk about that for a second.
Go for it.
Anglers for Conservation. Well, even back up before that. We all know that the 715th MP Company is over in Afghanistan right now.
Right.
Well, the military police, or what do they call the security police with the
security forces
with the 920th said, man, it'd be nice if we had a Humvee for all the kids and family members to look at. I said, you guys don't have any Humvees on this massive base? Don't have any Humvees. Okay. Got a hold of the commander who's over in Afghanistan. He authorized them to go down and borrow one of the up-armored Humvees, which has a gun turret on the top, and they brought it over for the picnic. That was a big hit.
Cool.
Shout out to Jeff Bodine and his gold medal winning bobsled, and Rob Amos, his partner in crime there. They did an awesome job. They brought out this bobsled, and folks, you don't get to see these things very often. I've never seen one before in person.
I haven't seen the up-armored ones. I saw the ones back in the 90s when we were in the Gulf War.
Yeah, I was talking about the bobsled, but anyway.
Well, I'll wake up and join the show now.
But so the bobsled came out for the kudos. That's the kids understanding deployment operations. And then they hauled it over to the 920th. Big hit. So thanks to Jeff Bodine and his partner Rob Amos. Anglers for Conservation, Rodney Smith and his group are just incredible. Second year in a row now, they have come out and held a a fishing clinic for the kids. By the way, they're often holding these free veterans fishing clinics, and they give away all kinds of stuff during the events. Yeah. They came out to the 920th picnic, gave away like some 60 rods and reels to the kids. I could go on and on. The YMCA, we've had Joe Rowlett on here before. He came and had some good games for the kids, had some awesome giveaways, I think free swimming passes and things like that. Of course, if I got to mention McDonald's, all right, McDonald's, the Rodriguez family, particularly Jesus, right here in Satellite Beach. If you go to a McDonald's restaurant, it's probably owned by the Rodriguez family. Jesus supported the 715th, and he was out there in force for the 920th picnic. And Will Kelly out of Orlando kind of heads up their corporate merchandising, brought out the smoothie trailer. So McDonald's was serving up free smoothies all day too. Just incredible. And literally I could go on and on. CivMill was helpful. The MOA gave, I think, $50 gift certificate for the
Military
kids.
Officers Association of America.
Yep, every little bit is appreciated. And Ocean Potion, I mean, my gosh, they donated close to $20,000 worth of sunscreen products to the cause.
Oh, my goodness. That's wonderful.
Yep. Joanna is awesome out there, as TC is as well. So you see, it's a community effort, and we need volunteers. We need money, and we need volunteers. Go to avetproject.org, click on the donate button. Folks, if you can afford a latte at Starbucks, you can afford to give $5 to help support the troops. And also, I encourage you to click on the volunteer button, okay? Because we've got a big event. Well, it's not quite as big as feeding over 1,000 people for the 920th, but our Navy brothers and sisters at NOTU, which stands for
Naval Ordnance Test Unit out in the Cape that a lot of people not even aware is here.
And that's the way they like it, really, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they have all their special submarines and all that jazz. Well, they are going to be having a family day picnic as well, and we need help with that. So please click on that. Okay, Glenn, Who voted no this time on the Stolen Valor? We should make this a quiz question.
Yeah.
Again, we've got our wonderful Justin Amash.
Michigan,
Yep.
second no vote. Paul Braun, Republican from Georgia, and Thomas Massey, Republican from Kentucky.
So,
Georgia and Kentucky really surprised me.
how about the R's, the Republicans, you know?
Well, and Republicans,
Yeah, shame on you three. Shame, shame, shame on you. You're bad, bad people. Like I'm scolding my little Chihuahuas, the AVET Project therapy dogs. Bad people.
I don't scold my German Shepherds like that.
He's too big. He's too big. But yeah, this is all about the Stolen Valor. I just got knocked in the ear from our producer to say Stolen Valor. So those are the people that didn't think you needed to restrict lying about valorous activities and medals and
Not
stuff.
receiving medals
Yeah.
for your valor acts in the United States military. So.
Right. And thanks again, Vince, for pulling up those. Ron Paul, you're out of there, but you did vote no, so you're a jerk
Yeah,
anyway.
he's no longer a congressman. So.
All right, so we got a lot to get to here. We should probably start with what?
Yeah, Garen, tell our folks again, because I've still run into tons of people who don't realize they're a veteran. Who is a veteran? In general terms, who's a veteran?
Folks, if you served honorably in one of our branches of the armed services, okay, if you got a DD-214 that says you were honorably discharged, you're a veteran. Let's put it that way.
That's the easy way to look at it, and that's correct. So you probably the biggest misrepresentation, misunderstanding is people think you have to have been a retired person from the military. You had to serve 20 years or more, or be medically retired to be a veteran, and that's not true. It's
Or
just
you
like
had to be in
Garen's-
combat.
yeah.
We've heard it all.
All kinds of misinformation out there, but as Garen said, your DD-214 says you got honorable discharge, and if you've been in, and most people that we're talking to now have been in since 1980, well, maybe not most people, but
The
if
2
you've
year
been in
rule.
since 1980, you had to serve 2 years or got out like on a hardship or a medical discharge.
Right, and the hardship in medical does not exclude you. If you only spent 18 months in and you had to leave because of some other reason, as long as you have that honorable on your DD-214.
That's right.
So,
With that, there's a subgroup of people misinformed out there.
oh,
and
are
that- And that's called women veterans. It's amazing the number of women veterans who don't believe they're a veteran and don't believe the VA has any health care for them and don't believe they're eligible to apply for service-connected disability benefits and a whole other wide range. Kind of what makes you wonder is they do realize that they got education benefits when they're eligible, but they don't realize they have any other. Yeah, and I don't know how you can go to school under the GI Bill and not run into people who are under the GI Bill that wouldn't eventually tell you that you
but
have
Glenn,
access.
like you said, we know it happens.
Yeah,
we come
but it
across them all the
happens.
time.
Yeah.
I think it might be this idea or notion that the VA is about men.
Well,
And-
yeah, and the VA changed their healthcare system more than a decade ago to accommodate the unique medical care required for the female anatomy versus the male anatomy.
And they have a long way to go, but almost at every VA OPC, whether it's an outpatient clinic, certainly the medical centers, maybe some of the rural clinics may not have women-specific or female veteran-specific programs, but they'll get you in touch with a coordinator that does know what's available.
Yeah, every major VA clinic and certainly every VA hospital, medical centers they're called, has a person assigned as a significant additional duty as a female veteran coordinator. And like Garen said, even if you go to one of the small outreach clinics, they will get you in contact with that person to get you hooked up with all the services available through that VA healthcare system in the area where you're living. And they have the ability to contract out for private non-VA providers if they can't provide the medical care and you're eligible for VA medical care. You just need to know that you're potentially eligible, VA medical care quickly is based upon a combination of service-connected disabilities or not, and income and assets. So, but
That
the only way
means
you
to
find
us-
out if you're eligible is you go take your 214 over to the clinic and apply.
Exactly, and I think it's still a 1010 EZ, right? That
Yep,
you fill
it's
out?
still a VA form 10-10 EZ. That's Echo Zulu.
And it's supposed to be easy.
It's supposed to be easy, and it is pretty easy for a VA form. It's only a couple pages.
And so we're talking to you women veterans out there because you really have gotten short-sheeted for so many years. I mean, we're talking back, I met some World War II gals on my honor flight, 3 of them as a matter of fact. Proud Americans, wonderful ladies, but I'll bet for a fact they didn't know they had benefits.
And I'll bet for a fact, back when they were getting off active duty in the World War II era, or right after World War II was over, the VA was not accommodating to female veterans at all. They didn't have any programs for female veterans.
Exactly.
They didn't even have female restrooms. I mean,
Exactly, and which is, that's the idea is we have to cater to their needs because women and men are different.
Oh, absolutely.
And the VA has placed an emphasis on that, particularly, what would you say, over the last 10 years they've come a long way?
Last decade especially in the last decade, and they've really ramped up female programs to include some natal care for like a month or so right after birth.
Incredible.
And those kind of things.
Good, good. And you mentioned, I want to make this point, folks. You maybe heard the word out there, fee basis. If you're a female veteran and you get into a facility that doesn't have specifically tailored programs, or you have a specific need, an OBGYN or something like that, and they don't have, because guess what? There are not many OBGYNs in the VA system.
No, probably none.
Yeah. They will farm you out at no cost to you as long as you qualify through your service-connected disability or fall within one of the 8 categories of care.
Exactly. So the only way you find that out again is go apply at the clinic. Take your 214 and go apply. You're most likely going to be eligible. And just because you're a female veteran does not mean you're not eligible. And like we said, and it's worth repeating, the VA has really ramped up in the past decade care specifically tailored for female needs.
Now you got a whole pile of papers in front of you. What's some headlines for these female vets?
Well, the big headline, get ready to write again, is the VA has a hotline to hook you up with all the information about what's available for female veterans. So, and that's 1-855-829-6636. Again, that's 1-855-829-6636. That's 1-855-VA-WOMEN for those who like to look it all up on the phone. I hate that.
But it is something to remember, and then you
Yeah.
can translate it to the keypad. So 1-855-VA-WOMEN.
VA-WOMEN.
Okay.
And, it's interesting because nowadays women make up nearly 15% of the active military force and 18% of the reserve and guard forces. So
That's nearly 1 out of 5 on the Guard and Reserve.
yeah, and it's growing. I guarantee it's growing because many laws have changed. You may be familiar with out there that by reading the news where women are being allowed more and more combat roles that they weren't allowed into before.
Can we talk about that for a minute, though? The whole combat role thing.
Yeah.
AVET Project is intimately acquainted and supportive of both the Guard units around here, the National Guard units, the one in Cocoa and the one in Melbourne. The 715th, obviously you all know, deployed over 100 soldiers to Afghanistan. And as we did our functions throughout that week, we cooked them dinner, served them breakfast, did all kinds of different things for them, just to let them know they're loved, and we support them and we're praying for them. Look around the room there, and almost to the woman, I think it probably came to 15 to 18%.
Yeah.
It wasn't 1 in 5, but it was real close. There's a lot of women.
Yeah, that one time I was out there and y'all were giving them food. I agree with you. It looked like about 1 in 5.
Yeah. And the idea there is they have specific needs. They're deploying right along with the men. They're going into a combat zone, okay? And we talked about this. And these gals happen to be MPs, military policemen, so they're out there
Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting that the female friend of mine who was deployed in the truck company I talked about just a few minutes ago, one of the other female county veteran service officers, we all communicated with her and tried to help her morale and all those kinds of things. And sent her stuff. She was big into Oreo cookies, but also she shared with us that one of the female county service officers sent her some feminine things, and you can figure that out for yourself. And that was the one thing she really appreciated, because being where she was, and of course dressing up in all your combat gear and everything every day, reminded her that she really is a woman, and she really appreciated it.
Yeah, and folks, AVET Project's EEBs, Empowerment Equipment Boxes, it's our enhanced care packages, are gender specific. Men and women, and all their feminine products and all that kind of stuff gets included with it. So if you want to support it, if you want to send a female warrior a care package, jump online, avetproject.org, click on the donate button. It's $14.85 for every shipment. We'll take care of all the stuff that goes in it, but if you want to pay the postage, you can do so, and it means it's just a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can remember when I was in Vietnam, and you get a box of cookies from home, and I think the post office must have took great delight in hitting it with a mallet before it came. And it came as a box of crumbs, but it was still the thought that counted behind that, let me tell you. And I don't mind eating crumbs,
there you go.
So it's no problem.
Spoon those cookies up with a spoon.
Yeah, so, women right now make up 6% of the VA healthcare crowd that the VA serves, and I told you it's 15% active duty, 18% of reserve and guard. So we got to get the word out there. Although it's doubled since 2001, the number of women veterans seeking health care from the VA has doubled. So it's headed in the right direction, and there's going to be a lot more with the drawdown in Afghanistan coming, and many of those are going to, just like the males coming, are going to need health care from the VA. They're also going to need help with disability claims and other VA benefits, and that's where you come see us at our office out in the County Government Center, Bravo building on the first floor.
And if you are in another county within Florida, again, go to the county pages in the phone book, or just Google it, County Veteran Service Office, because there's one in every single county. I want you to be sure and check with them. I mean, you have, 67 of your counterparts here?
66 counterparts, total of 67 counties.
Right.
If you're in another state, you may or may not have one, but you can always contact the VA directly at 1-800-827-1000. 1-800-827-1000. And if you're going to call on a Monday or a Tuesday, have a lot of patience. I would suggest call in the middle of the week or later in the day.
But if you're listening to American Warrior Radio from your computer in Virginia or Texas or New Mexico, wherever you might be, and you want accredited claims help, get online to Google and Google Veteran Service Organizations, particularly see if your state supports a county veteran service organization, because you're going to get credentialed help there, and we don't want you to try and navigate this mess alone. You've got to make it a real effort to find qualified help.
Yeah. And we want to give you a little information now, shift gears for a moment, about the VA fiduciary program. And as a lead into that, I want to remind you, Florida has 1.6 million veterans, and they are the oldest, most severely service-connected veterans in America. All living
Glenn,
in Florida.
Can I put you on pause for half a second? Because our producer said, how much do they have to spend for Glenn's representation?
Oh, well, it's very, very reasonable. Our favorite word on this program, free.
Free.
And any nationally accredited veteran service officer will provide you help for free.
Can they charge?
If somebody wants money to help you file a VA claim, they're breaking the law, simply put.
That's it. You cannot charge money to help people with their VA claims. There's a certain circumstance way over on the appeal side, but to initiate a claim, no, no, no.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, is starting off filing claims.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said that, we'll skip back to this program that many of you don't hear about unless it pops up that the veteran needs this, and it's the VA fiduciary program. Happens most often that we run into it is people on that pension program who are in assisted living facilities or nursing homes. And the fiduciary program, that's a legal term to appoint somebody to take legal responsibility for managing some or all of your affairs.
Okay.
In the VA system, it's to manage your VA money that you're being paid. Nothing else, just your VA money.
Okay.
And
And
of
you're
course,
saying
in doing that, it may encompass other activities
right.
of living. But the fiduciary program, if the VA gets information that they don't think the veteran can any longer handle their VA benefit, manage it properly, then they will give them 60 days to say, well, but I can, and here's evidence to show I can.
So if somebody's saying you're incompetent to handle your own affairs, and the VA wants to
Right.
appoint a fiduciary, they can argue, yes, I am.
Yeah, they have to give them a 60-day due process notice to submit evidence against that to prove they are competent. Otherwise, and in most cases, we're talking people with dementia and other Alzheimer-related things and mental disabilities. Rarely is it a physical disability causing this. It's usually a mental connected problem for the veteran. And once the person, so we'll continue, the person could not produce evidence that they are able to manage their VA money. So then the VA goes through a process to appoint someone as a VA fiduciary to manage their money. And that can be a relative, that can be a friend, that can be a healthcare provider, it can be many people, and normally those kind of people get there by applying to be the VA fiduciary for the person. And then the VA sends out a field agent, and the field agent makes a recommendation back to the VA fiduciary hub now that they've centralized it, and our people are taking care of in Columbia, South Carolina. And then they make a final determination there after running some background checks and criminal background checks.
Good.
All that good stuff about the person to be the fiduciary, which is all good. It protects the veteran. That's what it's intended to do. And then they appoint a fiduciary. Long story short, and we could talk more about fiduciary in a later show, but long story short, while this fiduciary process is going on, and unfortunately it can take several months, and it's done after the award has been made of in this example, the pension, the VA will withhold the retro money, which already could be up to a year or more's worth of benefit that's being withheld by the VA. But fortunately, the VA will now pay the monthly benefit from the time they start the fiduciary process. But that back pay is going to be held up until they're done.
And that makes perfect sense, because that can be a chunk of change. And if they
usually
appoint
a
the wrong,
big chunk of change because of the backlog in the VA. So.
And there could be, and we all unfortunately know there's frauds. We just heard about 3 congressmen that I consider frauds. There's frauds out there that would take advantage of our aged veterans and say, ooh, here's a big pile of money. Convince this, what'd you say, the agent from the fiduciary department? Field agent that, hey, I can do it and I can do it. They can be very convincing.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they're con men. So the VA
con men
got
are
smart.
the most convincing of all. That's why
right.
they're con men.
That's right.
And
So-
con women.
So the VA said, you know what, we're going to limit this liability and we're going to hold this big stack of money back. And I think that's wise.
And I think it's wise too. And it's a better way of doing business to pay the monthly. It used to be they withheld everything, including the monthly.
Which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it can take another 7 or 8 months in Florida to get the fiduciary process done, because they only got like 10 or 11 field agents to cover the oldest, most severely service-connected disabled veterans in America, which means the likelihood of being in need of a fiduciary is great.
Right. So, folks, again, we've just blown through another hour of American Warrior Radio. We hope that you'll join us again next week between 1100 and 1200 hours for another episode of American Warrior Radio. We encourage you to call your congressman and tell them to support H.R. 1756, H.R. 1756, Deployed Troops Support Act of 2013. See you again next week. And as always, Glenn,
Don't forget, Think of that. See you next week.